Greetings, everyone. This is Payman Lorenzo, your host of the Leader with a Heart podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, my good friend Damon from Australia. Damon is an incredible person and human being. In a nutshell, he's a creative adventurer, owner of an awesome boat club, author of big ideas, innovator, humanist, but most importantly, he has a huge heart, an enlightened soul, and a true wonderful leader with a heart in the truest sense. So it's going to be a pretty good one. Damon, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks very much, Payman. Really appreciate being here.
My pleasure. So first of all, for those that don't know you, tell us about yourself. Who is Damon?
I'm an inquisitive soul. I like to sort of find out different things. Been on a pretty wild journey my whole life of just seeking without realizing it. In my 20s, I sort of left the normal life, jumped on a motorbike and went traveling, and it was only supposed to be a 3-month holiday, and I ended up staying on my motorbike for 6 years, just wandering around Australia and just
Where did you go?
learning.
Oh, Australia.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's amazing.
I did that, just doing different jobs here and there, and but the gift that it gave me was meeting incredible people everywhere, and they all had their own stories, and they were telling me their stories while I was creating my story, and it was just this most fascinating experience of learning about life rather than the system. I wasn't, I didn't fit the system. I came top of the class in ceramics in school, but failed everything else. So for me, it was about life. I'm a journey person. I just love wandering around. So the creative adventurer, that's a good title.
Amazing. 6 years. Wow. Traveling to just biking on Australia. That's an incredible.
It was like there was just opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, and it wasn't about making money. It was about meeting people.
Experiences.
So
yes.
Very much a soul journey, and it was a hard one to stop. It was really a difficult journey to stop. I wanted to keep going.
Awesome. That part of that phase of your life, that could be the foundation for a tremendous book, even even maybe you can do a version 2.0 nowadays with a camera and just documenting it and on YouTube channel and whatnot. And a lot of people will love that. That's going to be something very, very attractive to people.
Very interesting experience. Looking back now, I'm 60. So looking back now, that was in my 20s. I learned a lot of my values and principles in that journey because of who I was. And, some people might have thought, oh, geez, he's a bastard. And other people thought, wow, he's a really nice guy. Do you know what I mean? So depending on who I was at any particular time, which we all go through that stage, there's plenty of people out there and that's just who we are as we're growing and learning. And it's like, okay, pardon me, it's where I became who I wanted to be and how I wanted to live my life. That was the beginning of the quest of deliberately, intentionally making changes to my life. So taking ownership for my behavior, I guess, in that regard. So yeah.
Let's stay when you were young. When we are all kids growing up, one of the most common questions we ask is, so what do you want to be when you grow up? So when you were growing up, what was your family, your school teacher, and people around you were asking? What was your answer? What did you, Damon, wanted to do when you were growing up as a kid?
Wow. This is so fascinating because like most kids, I was one of those ones that didn't know how to put it into words, but I'm living it now.
Wow, wonderful.
Which is the creative adventurer. But because there's this expectation of fireman, policeman, lawyer, doctor, all that type of stuff, because that's what everybody's doing. But they didn't have creative adventurer as a job description. But I knew in my heart, I just was a person of the world in terms of just exploring, wondering, questioning. I remember sitting in church as a 7-year-old and saying, this is hypocritical, I'm throwing it away. And that was at 7. So from a religious point of view, I understood that the people that were within religions potentially were living aligned with the values of the religion. The concept of it was fine, but there's, you know what I mean? So, and you can get that. There's good and bad people in every career chain. Like there's good doctors, good bad doctors, good politicians, bad politicians, good policemen, bad policemen. That's what I saw, and that's what I still see today. So while you may have this title of lawyer, you can still be a bad person, or you can still be an amazing person. So the title itself has no relevance to me. What spins me out and really gets me excited is who you are and how you behave.
Wonderful. I love that.
You can have as many labels as you like on your name. They mean nothing to me. It's how you behave. It's how you treat people. And that's the core essence.
I have the same view, because I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're, for example, the most successful person in the world. What I'm interested in is you as a human being. If you as a human being, you don't. Because I've met some people who are very successful, but they treat people like crap. And for me, I don't even bother talking to them, because they failed the most important part, which is being a human being. If you fail being a human being, being polite and all that, then it doesn't matter what else you might have achieved in your life, because that's going to be irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, and I think I saw that as a kid, but not realizing that that's how I wanted to live my life. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, I was still a bastard at times. You know, like you go through your own learning, go through your own journey, but that's just your journey. Yeah,
sometimes we need to be for our own protection and our own growth. Because if you're too nice all the time, you're gonna get destroyed.
Well, that's exactly right.
Right.
Yeah. But I must admit, I was the quiet one. I'm one of 7, so I was the middle child, one of 7, and great life growing up. You know, like we had we as kids had a good time. But at the same time, I had a very narcissistic father, who, if you tried to rise up, he was very quick he was good with words to sort of belittle you and put you back in your box. You know what I mean? So that sort of sent me on my journey, which is it was a good thing, because having him as that person meant I wanted to go on this journey, because I didn't want to be like that. So and I'm living a really good life now, the way I want to live it, because of all those things. So having gratitude for the bad things in your life and appreciation for the bad things in your life is that's your best foundation. Because it means you can grow from that. And you know, I was angry for a lot of years towards him and all that sort of stuff. And then once I realized that actually having him as a father has taught me so much about who I am, that was the gift, because I know and I knew even as a young child I didn't want to be like him. I wanted to be successful like him, but I didn't want to treat people like him. That's the way he did. Yes. And that was this very clearly defined concept. So it was a dual thing I had to work with, because he was quite successful and he was an entrepreneur in that regards. But he was one of those people that was an entrepreneur but treated people badly. And so I had to turn it around. So I'm an entrepreneur, but I now know the impact is by how you live your life, yourself, not how you treat others. And that sort of flow on.
Totally, yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey, the whole process of my life.
So what's your story, if you were to summarize yourself, as to where you came from, where you are now, what you achieved? Tell us more about your story and your journey. After you mentioned that growing up, and then you went doing something amazing, which was 6 years traveling bike around Australia. Tell us more about your journey and your story after that.
Yeah, I think on reflection, and I've done a fair bit of work looking through this process, when you can actually do a little exercise by breaking your life down into 5 years, so 1 to 5, 5 to 10, so forth. And then really drill down where and what values and principles you learned in that 5-year period. What was going on? What was going on? What was going on? So, and then you can have a very quick overview of your life. That's an amazing exercise, actually. So, but for me, it was realizing, it was not knowing what was. It's that glass ceiling. So I had, as having a father as a narcissist, you're constantly told that you're not good enough, because you can't take the spotlight away from them. So you're constantly told that you're not good enough and this, that. So subconsciously, that's what I took on board. So I was very creative, but with a belief system that was not good enough. So I would do all these things, but then I'd get to a certain point and stop, because I didn't believe I was good enough to go to the next level. And so that, when you look at my journey itself, that was part of the process. Was I was doing all this amazing stuff, but I would give up at the most important point because I didn't believe in myself. And so working that out, and I had to go through a really interesting process, which was because of my life and my adventures, I never got married until I was 50. And
wow.
so I became a stepfather to 3 kids, and I was in a relationship for 10 years. But the funny part about all that was I married a covert narcissist, not an overt. My father was overt. So I married a covert narcissist. And that, while amazing, had very detrimental, toxic
Sure.
effects. And
Sure.
so the end process was I had to leave that relationship after 10 years. And that was hard because my whole identity was in that process as a stepfather for 10 years, as a husband, business person, all that sort of stuff. So the journey had broken me, and so I fell into a really bad spot, hit rock bottom, and as a process of coming out of that, I became who I really am now, which was doing all the deep diving, the personal development. I now believe in myself bigger and better than ever before. There's no more glass ceilings, and so now I'm on my journey to create, but by believing in my ability and finding out what I'm capable of. That's my journey now. So I don't know what I'm capable of, but I'm going to find out. And so that's my journey. But a nice little sideline to that is that as a stepdad, when you walk away, and it's really, really quite difficult. But 4 years later, my stepkids are still in touch with me. So that's to me is a really big part that fills my heart. So
Sure.
I really appreciate that. So
Absolutely. Wow. I'm sure it must have been a very interesting journey where you learned a lot of lessons. Some of the lessons have been probably painful ones, but in retrospect, they've taught you a lot about life and all that. What would you say was the biggest lesson you learned through that process?
belief in self.
Mm-hmm.
Belief in self, and it did come from this journey of reinventing.
Mm-hmm.
When I left the marriage, I was broken. I'd hit rock bottom. There was 2 suicide attempts. I was a mess. I was
Oh,
really,
wow.
really bad. And I took myself off to Cambodia to just go and jump on a motorbike and go for a ride, clear my head, work out what I wanted to do. And the universe said, "You're not doing it hard enough," and gave me a heart attack while I was in Cambodia. And I was like, right,
Oh,
okay, what do I do
wow.
now? So it's quite funny when you're struggling with really bad depression, suicidal depression, and they give you tablets that make you feel worse. And it's like, well, how does that work? So
Yeah.
that's when I thought, no, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
going to do tablets. So I went over to Cambodia and jumped on the motorbike, and then the universe gave me a heart attack. Really powerful message out of all of that, because what I got through this journey, and it was an amazing journey. At the time, it was quite difficult, but now I look back, it was just the
Sure.
most incredible gift, because 2 days after that heart attack, I'm sitting in. I ended up getting to Bangkok for the surgery, and I was reading the obituaries of someone who I knew who had a heart attack on the same day I did,
Oh, no. Wow.
and it was like, okay. And I remember looking up and thinking, I'm not done yet. Do you know what I mean? I'm not finished. And it was like, because what would have people have read about or said about me being lost, suicidal, depressed, just broken? What would they have said if I did die? And so now my life, I'm actually writing what people are going to say by the way I live my life now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my concept. My whole concept is being awesome. So that was my journey. So
That's
really, really
beautiful.
powerful,
You
powerful.
know,
Yeah.
there's a quote that I saw that really resonates with what you just said. That's by the legendary Mark Twain. That says, "The two most important dates in our lives are one, when we are born, and second, when we find out why we are here." Would you say
Yes.
that you having that heart attack was the second date, which is almost like a renaissance, like a being born again, and that you found the reason why you're here, and you say, "Hey, F all of that. Now I'm going after what I really wanted, or what I'm really passionate deep down in my heart." now is the time for me to follow my purpose. Would you say that this was basically your second birth, basically that heart attack, and that really propulsed you into doing what you really deep down always wanted to do, but either didn't know how to do it or were afraid of because of or restrained by society's demands and expectations. And once you add that heart attack, you say, F that. What matters is me and my purpose. Now I'm going all in after my purpose.
Look, you have to say yes to that, but only in part. The passion and purpose side of it, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know how I was going to do it. The societal constraints, the biggest one was my own self-belief, because that was the story that I was carrying from childhood, that I wasn't good enough. All that was going through, that had been pretty consistent through my life. I was really good at doing a lot of things, but I would always stop at the right, this particular point, because I didn't believe I was good enough to go to the next level. So that was critical in my turnaround. So having the heart attack was great. It really allowed me to now just take a look at life differently. And so I've come back and had to reinvent. So I had to go and find a new place to live. I had to find new job, new everything, and just start again, while being still struggling with depression and all that sort of stuff. So the depression took about 2 years for it to I really had to do a lot of work to get rid of that. It was almost as if my depression had become a habit of safety. And so that stopped me expanding and going out into the world, because I was depressed. I couldn't do this. Because I was depressed. Once I realized that my depression was a habit, I had to take the courage to say, you've got to step out of this. You've got to step out of your depression. And then
what was there anything that helped you to get over that? Was it meditation, friends, religion, or anything to help you get over this depression, or just did it through to your own sheer personal will and desire?
A little bit of everything. No, I'm not religious in any way. I'm very, very, very spiritual. So connected to the universe in that regard. But I understand that religion is a story for me. It's the concept's good, but when it comes into contact with humans, it gets a bit tainted. So it's a bit like politics. Politics is good, but when it comes into contact with humans, it gets distorted. So so from a spiritual perspective, I'm 100%. So I guess that was the learnings, the lessons that I had to work out myself was how do I get out of this? How do I make this happen? And I just made one decision, which was to remove every single negative thing out of my life. So I stopped watching news. I got rid of, I let go of friends who were quite negative. Good in a lot of other ways, but their own negativity would rub off on me. So I let them go and just spent no time with them. I just challenged myself to remove the negativity from my life, and then I deep dived, because I had time on my hands while I was looking for work and doing things. So I deep dived into everything I could. Tony Robbins, Tom Bilyeu, Wayne Dwyer, all the podcasts that I could get my hands on that were positive. So I just really made one conscious decision to remove negativity. And that was a small decision, but a big decision. And that made a huge difference, because I just kept not knowing where I was going on my journey. I just knew I had to get somewhere, and I didn't know how. So I had to find out that. So I really had to do some deep diving.
You mentioned something very interesting just a couple of minutes ago. You said you had to change your story, and that's something that Tony Robbins says all the time, is you want to change your life, change the story that you keep telling yourself. That's the thing.
Yep.
And that's such a simple principle, but incredibly powerful, because the most important conversation we have is the one we have internally with ourselves all the time, and always trying to, talk ourselves down. Oh, if because of that person, because of this, if she didn't do this, if she didn't do this, and all that. And that's what's really only dragging you down, but keeping you there, preventing you from really reaching your potential. And and now, because I also went through some very dark times, but And when I look back at them, I say, wow, all I need to do is just change the story I keep telling myself, and then
Yep.
everything changes. Because it's not what happens to you, it's what you make of it that matters, you know?
What you mean? You don't have to know the answer. You don't have to know the answer at all. You just need to know you've got to change your story. You don't know the
Exactly.
future, but you can
Exactly.
create the future. And so
Absolutely.
it's so powerful to once I
Mm,
realized and became aware that I was making my habit, my depression a habit. I was the
mhm,
one doing that. I was the one telling people, oh, look, I can't because I'm depressed, or this because I'm depressed. I was the one doing that. So as soon as I realized it and thought, oh, you got to stop making this a habit. So I had to start changing that story of I am depressed,
And
you
most
and I
importantly,
really have to step.
I'm sure at one time it get even more than just becoming your story, become almost part of your identity to be depressed, and that's where
Absolutely.
it's really
Yes.
dangerous.
It was dangerous. And
Uh-huh.
I kept slipping back and I thinking, what's going on? So for me, it was about really understanding this concept of what the depression
Mhm.
was. And it was fear of moving forward.
Mm.
And so I had to sort of take some really, really big, courageous steps. And that was the beginning of me understanding this concept of the journey of the hero. I was on the journey. And I was at stage 6 and 7 and 8, which are really quite the messy middle, trying to work it out.
Mm.
And like you go through those processes.
When you said fear of moving forward, was it fear of failing or fear of having success?
There's a bit of both. A
Hmm.
bit of both. I think it's not one without the other,
Hmm.
because that is the process. But really, that was just. I still was trying to work out what I wanted to do, and I did some deep diving NLP work with a beautiful woman over here as a NLP expert. And we got me to the point where, because the divorce and everything, I was 57 at that stage, and I'd taken a big hit because of the divorce. So money wise, I was, like, and everything,
Sure.
it was just like, I've got to start again, what's going on? And so I took a really big risk in spending that money and with the help of this person, to sort of find the courage to make the decision,
Hmm.
because I'd always had this dream of building a boat and creating a boat business, which was a membership thing. And I then flicked the switch and I made the decision to build the boat. And we built the boat, and I started the business, and it came alive. And it was like, wow, I can do this.
You build a
So
boat?
that was I designed it with the boat builder. We sat down and had a few drinks and came up with a boat design, and which is how you do these things these days. And we ended up building this beautiful, beautiful boat. And this is the journey that's led me to where I am today, which is now writing a kids
Ah,
book about becoming awesome, because I had a whole other name for the business concept, and it was really fascinating. So while I was building the boat, I worked with the boat builder, and so almost like an apprentice. But the idea
mhm.
was that I would show people, I'm building a boat and I'm going to create this boat business. And everybody kept saying the same thing. Wow, this is awesome. Wow, this is awesome. And so it ended up becoming the Awesome Boat Club, simply because other people were telling me it was awesome. I had to change the name that I had picked out for it, which was lifestyle boating. Pretty boring when you think about it. So, but Awesome Boat Club was powerful. And so
Sure.
we built it. And then the name of the boat came, and I'm trying to think, well, what's going to be the name of the boat in the boat business that's Awesome Boat Club? And there was a couple of significant events that
Hmm.
that just reminded me that I am awesome because of my journey. And so the boat's
Hmm.
name became I Am Awesome. And
Lovely.
so that's the funny thing with that was that I ended up creating these little tattoos for the boat business
That's
to
amazing.
entice
Yeah.
kids to get into boat safety. So the name of the boat was I Am Awesome. These tattoos were designed to create a connection to kids to get into boat safety and things like that. So that tattoo, watching kids' faces when they put that tattoo on their arm and they go, I am awesome. And then immediately they'd be like this. And I saw that,
Imagine.
and it was just
Wow.
such a powerful statement from them. They knew that they were awesome, and it was really, really interesting to see that. And it started to bubble in this idea of putting something together in terms of a book, which I didn't know how to write. I've never written a book before, but it's just one of those things. So, so that tattoo started that process. So I ended up. This is part of the journey of this unknown. You're stepping in. You don't know where you're going. You know, like I had the heart attack, but I didn't know what my purpose was. I was trying to survive. That was one thing. That was my purpose, just to survive.
Sure.
Then I started the boat business. Then the boat business started. It evolved into something else, and this is when I started to realize that the universe is taking me somewhere, and I don't know where, but I've got to follow it. Okay, and the tattoo was that turning point. And so what happened was I started writing this kids book about becoming the hero based on the 12 stages of the hero's journey. And it got to a point where I was really conflicted because I had this boat business, which I'd spent a lot of money on starting it, getting it up and running, and it was my life savings, so to speak, and it was a real risk. And then this little kids book was coming up, and I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? And so I had a particular mentor at that time who was really big on personal development, and he just stared me down and said, trust the process. Trust the process. So I came home from that meeting and there was an email to say that there was a writing class the next day. So go and do that. So I went to this writing class, and the person doing it was lecturing on poetry. And so I came home from that, never having written a book in my life. I wrote all the poetry for my book in one sitting, and the book was written within 8 weeks.
Amazing.
And it was like, okay, now what do I do? So it's like, it was just this amazing journey. So I got to sit in front of Richard Branson at an event in Sydney. He was over here doing an event, and I was front row. And he's always been my biggest hero because his mother was instrumental in him being an entrepreneur. And she taught him how to be resilient and taught him to find out what he was capable of. So that having him sit right in front of me was really powerful, because I had my boat business I was trying to get started, and I had the book, which was going to be an interesting concept. And I had to work out what was important. Where do I put my time and my value? And I drove home from that meeting knowing that I was going to be closing my boat business down to focus on the book. Now, that boat business was my life savings, and yet I knew I had to stop it to focus on the book. And that was this process of the journey, stepping into the unknown. And so I'm now on the journey to find out what I'm capable of by writing my book. And that's where we are, and that's how we connected, was because I'm writing my book, and through a different website we've connected, and here we are now.
That's lovely. That's an amazing journey. Tell us more about the book here you're trying to write now, and for who it is.
I've written book one. It's a trilogy for kids. It's the book is following the 12 steps of the hero's journey and breaking them down. So the 12 steps is the formula for all Disney films and Star Wars and so forth. And you're basically, every single human being is on the journey. You're born onto the journey itself. And so your life, whether you stay in the safe space and go around in circles, just doing the same thing, living the same life for 70 years, or do you live a life by creating 70 years of life? You know what I mean? It's you can have the fixed jigsaw puzzle, which has got 4 sides and it's very fixed image of what life is, or you can have a life that is an infinite jigsaw puzzle where you just keep adding pieces. And so this is kind of what I'm trying to get people to understand, that life is not a fixed image. It goes beyond. You keep adding another piece to the puzzle.
Before going further with this, I just remember something you just mentioned that was really powerful, and I would love to get your feedback on that. You mentioned you had a powerful mentor. How do you find powerful and really helpful mentors? Someone that is just either not just starting out, or someone that is just lacking clarity or hesitant between different paths, and they need to consult or to talk to or to find just a mentor that is really been in the shoes, can really give you some real tough love, but real clarity. How do you find a mentor, basically? A good mentor? That's my question.
Look in their backyard. Look in the backyard of the mentor. If the backyard of the mentor is messy and untidy, then they're not the mentor for you. Their life isn't in order, they're not right for you. So do some digging, take some responsibility. Don't just give your money or time. Time's really valuable. Time's more valuable than money.
Absolutely.
Don't give your time to anybody who is not going to lift you up. They might want to take your money. So they have to, the way I live my life, because of them, I'm inspired to inspire. And so these people have to inspire you by the way they live their life. So try and find someone, and I have a policy of deliberately changing my mentors every 12 months, like moving on to the next one.
Wonderful.
So I can keep growing, because no one person will keep me growing the way I want to grow. So even if it's only for 6 months, I'll study someone. Like at the moment, it's Lewis Howes and Tom Bilyeu, brilliant people. Okay, so I've been with them for a while. I'll still have them in the future, but I will keep bringing other people in who will take my focus for a little while, and then they may sit in the background, and then I'll bring somebody else into the focus. So I'll always stay connected to new people, but I'm always searching for new people as well. So, so yeah, the thing, if there's anything I can offer in that respect, is to just find someone who is in alignment with who you want to become.
Absolutely.
So if that can help you get an idea, it starts you asking the question, well, who do I want to become? Okay, then you're on the journey just by asking one question. You're taking a step forward. So then start asking those questions. There's so much on the internet these days in terms of resources that's free. You can virtually do a whole university degree on the internet these days.
Absolutely.
And in terms of personal development. So just get on the internet and start downloading stuff that's relevant to who you want to become, because that's the important lesson. Who do you want to become? Because you're not going to be the same person today as you are in the future. So who is it that you want to become? And keep growing. Just keep growing. Don't be that person who lives the same life for 70 years.
Totally, makes totally sense. Absolutely. That's powerful. Yeah. Going back to your book, what you're doing, and we had this conversation earlier before this going live. You mentioned something very powerful that you want to. This is about inspiring kids and instilling in them the belief in themselves. Tell us more about that. Tell us more about your vision with that, and what's your long-term vision with that.
It stems from my journey, in a sense that when I was a kid, having a very narcissistic parent, I didn't look in the mirror and believe in myself. So my book is basically, in a way, me connecting with my inner child. That was that person who wanted to become. And so having my breakdown and my heart attack and going on that journey taught me to really dig deep and start questioning, because I had the breakdown and the heart attack because I didn't know who I was. You know what I mean? I wasn't connected with who I really needed to be. I wasn't the hero. And so I had to actually get connected. And you can do that by looking in the mirror. But you've got to believe in who you see in the mirror. And we have this conflict with social media these days, where kids are looking at everybody else to get their reference of who they are.
And that's
they've got to look in the mirror and believe in who they see. So this is the message that I want to bring through in my book, and I've deliberately written it in a way that gets kids to look in the mirror and say, I am awesome. They have to believe in themselves, because like you said before, when you're a child, 6 or 7, you know who you want to be, but your parents sort of try and indicate that you should be this or you should be that, and society tells you maybe you think you should be this or should be that. Teachers tell you you should be this and should be that, but deep down you've got to find out who it is you really are. And like I said, there wasn't a job description for creative adventurer, But
That's for
that's who
sure.
I wanted to be as a kid. And I now am living my life as a creative adventurer. So I'm really glad that I now have become true to who I am. Jumping on the motorbike for 6 years was the creative adventurer. So even though I felt lost, because the reason why I felt lost, because I was trying to fit the mold of society.
Absolutely,
When I didn't realize I was actually being me. I was
Mhm.
actually being me. But I kept thinking I needed to satisfy society's expectations and all this sort of stuff. And it's really the wrong thing to be doing. So it's kind of a bit of a funny duopoly in the sense, or an irony, that I was living my life, but I didn't realize it. I was, the creative adventurer on the motorbike. But in some way, I kept having this thing in the back of my mind that society had expectations of me to be, responsible, get a job, do this, do that, and all that sort of stuff, when I was actually living
And
the
I
life that I really wanted to live.
and I can pretty much guess that the moment, some of the times in your life that you felt the most alive, the happiest were on that motorbike, versus from the time that you felt the most unhappy and miserable were where you were trying to fit the mold and trying to do what people are trying to tell you. Yes, I can see that because I went through the exact same
Oh
thing
yeah.
myself.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I went.
absolutely. So, and don't get me wrong, I really appreciated the concept of being married. I loved being married. I loved being in the family. I really enjoyed that. But the toxicity that came from being with the covert narcissist personality, she was a beautiful woman, but there was this thing that just kept chipping away at my soul. And it was like 90% of my marriage was fantastic, but this 5% was like a shiny axe that was just chopping my tree down. And I had to walk away from it.
Any tips on noticing if someone is like that before you get too deeply involved with them?
Well, I've learnt my lesson.
Any tips would give you could give to others?
But no, I do that in business now as well. I do that in
Mhm.
business now because they can be your business partners or whatever. So you've got to be diligent about, if this person is not lifting you up, they're not serving you. If they're
That's a
making comments
powerful.
behind your back, or if they're trying to stop you from achieving, they're not serving you. They're not lifting you up. So question how much they can be in your life. Because whether you bring them in at 10% or 20% or 30%, how important is it? So I created the 3 circles when I was coming out of depression. So it was the idea of the 3 circles is that the number ones are the people that I can trust. I can really
Mhm.
tell my truth to. I can tell my dreams to, and they will support. Okay? There's not many of those people. So then there's the number 2s. Now, these are all people that are family and friends, business people, anybody you meet in life. Number
Mhm.
2s are people that when you tell someone your dream, they will find a negative. They will find a reason why it won't work. They'll find this. They love and
Mhm.
care for you, but they'll find a reason why it won't work. They're number 2s, okay? And then the number 3s, I just talk sport and football to. I don't tell them my dreams at all, okay? I just talk basic. So I can walk into a room now and I will label people 1s, 2s, or 3s, because that allows
That's
me to
amazing.
determine the conversation. So if I know you're a number 2, I'm not going to talk about my dreams until after I've done my dreams, because as soon as I achieve my dreams, you're on my case, you're championing me, you're my best friend, all that type of stuff. But before that, you are someone who finds the negative.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
you get told my dreams afterwards, okay? And so I do that consciously and deliberately now. I walk into a room and with my friends, with new people, if it's a new group, I'll listen to the way people speak. And if they're not someone who's uplifted and positive, then they get
Mhm.
labeled as a number 2 or something. And I'm very careful about what I say to those people about my dreams. So I'm taking responsibility for me in the conversation, and I can direct the conversation. So if they're a number 3, great. And I feel like talking to a number 3, I'll go and sit and have a beer and talk football. But if I really need to find a mentor and whatever, I've got to go and look for a number 1. So I'm deliberate and I'm very deliberate about that.
Yeah.
So when I enter a room, I do that. So the doorway is my framework. So as I enter, I go, right, circles, 1, 2, 3.
So you just
And
listen
that
to what
helps.
way people are talking, and then you can automatically see where they belong just by the way they talk, the way they interact with other
Yeah,
people.
yeah.
Mm,
It just means I'm cautious going into a conversation, and I don't
of
get too
course. Yeah.
excited about this. And so it's not, people can move from a 2 to a 1, but they've got to
Absolutely.
change.
Hmm.
But a person can go from a 1 to a 2 very quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's
And
a
so
super powerful. Mm,
it's not rigid. It's very fluid. So depending on the moment, depending on the dinner, depending on whatever else, you've really got to be. It's just allowing me to take ownership and be very intentional about how. That's been probably the biggest help for me in terms of having other people affect my life, because
mhm.
I've moved, I've labeled them a number 2. So okay, I don't spend so much time with you. I'll still catch up with you, but maybe not as much. The number
That's such a
ones I hang around with. Yeah.
such a powerful and key principle that I will definitely. I always add this kind of thing in my mind as well, but now that you put it in such an easy way to vision it, I'm definitely
Yeah.
going to be implementing that. That's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I love that.
It's so
Because again, you're
helpful.
right.
It really is.
Some people
Yeah.
will you're excited about something, you're super pumped, you tell them something, and they will always look, say, yeah, that's a great idea, but here's why it's not going to work. And the more you try
But
to tell them, hey, that's right, but then and you in the process you become upset and you start doubting yourself, and
yeah.
that's not a good place to be. So yeah, you're right,
But
totally.
you can't blame them. You have to take responsibility for yourself. They are who
Hmm.
they are. That's their
Yeah,
choice. But
and
I
you mean
chose to
good,
go and
yeah,
tell my dream to them, and I stuffed up because I told my dream to them when I know they're a number 2. So
yeah,
it's
that's
like
perfect.
I'm responsible for me and who I am. Don't blame anybody
Mhm.
else. It's just that's the critical key, and it's the really helpful thing about labeling people 1s, 2s, or 3s as your circle of friends, or your circles of influence is a better way of putting it, because are they a negative influence or a positive influence? You don't have to lose them as friends. You just be very intentional about your discussions with them, and the amount of time you spend with them. So that's where it's really helpful. So just go and label all your friends or all your business friends and so forth, and just say, well, okay, well, how do I talk to these people in future? If I've got a dream and I want to achieve it, is that person actually going to help me?
I love that, that's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I'm
So
gonna
yeah,
definitely implement that myself as well.
yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Now let's take a look at this past year. What would you say that you learned this year that has had the biggest impact on your business and life? What lesson?
Oh, self-belief, easy.
Yeah.
Just belief in self. This process of writing a book, I've never written a book before. I've never
Hmm.
done an e-sales business before. I've never done just about everything I'm stepping into, I've never done before. And yet I know I have to do this. And I know I can make a huge impact by making my book, bringing my book to market, so to speak, and my product. So there's, with the I Am Awesome tattoos, and we've got a whole lot of concepts. My big dream is to impact 1 billion children over the next 10 years. So with
Wow.
my books and my concepts. So I know I can do that if I believe in myself and get myself, because I know the path in my head of how to make this happen. And so it's about bringing it out. How it's actually going to unfold, I'm not sure. The universe is going to take me on this little journey, but I know I'm going to get there. And I've got to go through, and I'll meet different people along the way that will lift me up, and then I'll meet people who will try and pull me down. Not
Mhm.
intentionally, but it's just the way they are, but that's how it is. And I've got to work that out. So that's my journey. And so I'm on this a bit of a quest in a way, and I'm learning about myself and what I'm capable of. But that's the message that is the little boy in the story. Find out what you're capable of.
You know
So
what?
when I
We've
went
been
to
talking.
the
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go
sorry,
ahead.
I was
Okay.
when I went to the illustrator and I said, trying to develop the boy in the is a young boy, 8-year-old, and I said, I want an 8-year-old Richard Branson.
Wow.
Now, if you can imagine an 8-year-old Richard Branson, everybody can picture that type of person. Do you know what I mean? So, not really. They have a quest for. They have a desire to find out. They don't know it, but they have this desire to find out. So that's my little character. And now that character is actually a blend of my inner child and Richard Branson as an 8-year-old. So this concept of the boy I could have been, but I wasn't because my father kept telling me, no, you're not good enough. My inner child was good enough. And so this is so in a way, there's a message to me in the book, just as there's a message to every single person in the planet. Same message for me, just as much as for anybody reading it. Just keep believing in yourself every day.
You know, it's very interesting because for the past hour and a half or so that we've been talking, I noticed the recurring theme of you always saying, believe in yourself. Would you say that and for you, it's been at times quite painful and difficult journey? Would you say that learning how to believe in yourself has been the single greatest lesson of your life so far?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The hardest, the most painful, but it's the one I'm most grateful for, because having that belief in self it's just lights you up. You know, like you can really, I have been inspired to inspire. So the way I live my life now is hopefully to inspire others by the way I live my life. So but I wasn't that person. I had to become that person. I had to change my story. And
it's a journey, yes.
And it's not a 180-degree turn. People think it's that big.
No.
It's not. Tony
Gradual.
Robbins talks about a 2-degree shift. If you change your direction by 2 degrees and you head off into the future, that
Even
gap
1 degree.
gets further and further away.
Even 1 degree.
Yeah.
And
1 degree is just one question. That's all. You've just got to ask one question and then ask another question and then ask another question. Your process in finding out the answer is where you're going. So you've got to go on that question.
You mentioned Tony Robbins. I'm also a big fan of him. And since you mentioned question, that's one point you always mention is that the caliber of question you ask yourself, that's going to determine the outcome. The power of questions. Ask the right question, you will have the right answers. Ask the wrong question, they can lead you towards your destruction. That's so true. Another thing I noticed, and that's so beautiful, I'm noticing the more and more is becoming really crystal clear. Your biggest lesson in life and your biggest challenge has been believing in yourself. And now that you're doing something that is perfectly in line with giving that gift to others, especially to kids, you wish someone had given you that when you were at that age, inspiring, just you said, inspiring the kids to be inspired. That's the most amazing business to be, because your business is it's not just about money, it's about the purpose, it's about the meaning and impact. It's all and the biggest impact we can have is giving someone hope, giving someone belief. And honestly, that's when we are able, when we reach that place, when what we're doing is completely congruent with what we totally passionate about. That's like being blessed, and I can see now in your eyes, the way you talk, the passion. You can see the drive. I mean, I can totally see it, that there's nothing you would rather do in life than this, because it's completely congruent with what you always wanted to do. That was part of you going through the biggest, most painful lessons of your life, and now to overcome this. Now it's your mission to pass that on to others. That's absolutely brilliant. I mean, I'm in awe, and I'm completely in admiration of what you're doing. That's beautiful. Keep it up. And I love your vision of I love your vision of inspiring 1 billion kids in the future. Absolutely mesmerizing. And you will get it. You will get that. You'll get there.
But that's what I say. I joke, reference, but I'm quite serious in the sense that my business partner is the universe. I'm guided in many different ways. There's been too many strange happenings, lining ups, and alignments that I cannot be. So I have full faith and full belief that I'm going to achieve my vision, because I know that the book I'm writing is not coming from me, it's coming through me. And that's probably the only way I can really describe it, by when I say that the universe is my partner. I'm absolutely being guided. I need to go down this path. I need to go down this path. This is the message you need to learn yourself, but also to inspire others to learn as well. So
You know, I would believe that everything happens for a reason, and the reason is for us to learn the lessons that we're meant to learn, that we're supposed to learn, so we can get to where we to get to our purpose. You're blessed that you reached that. Others are still working on that. Myself, I believe I found my purpose, which is to help others. But
yep.
yeah, that's beautiful. Now, a fun question for you. Let's say now you're having your own podcast and you have the most special guest in the world for you right now, which is yourself. What would be the first question, the most pressing question you would ask yourself
Gosh,
in your
that's
own
a that's
podcast?
a Howard. I guess, did you achieve your dreams?
Mm-hmm.
Did you fulfill your dreams? Because that's true happiness, is fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
So have you
Totally.
fulfilled your dreams? Have you lived the dream? Have you lived your life the way you wanted to?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, yeah, I mentioned before about having, I live my life now. I'm writing what people are going to say on my funeral, by the way I live my life now. And so, yes, I'm pretty comfortable saying that people would say I was awesome, because I'm deliberately, and my intention is to be awesome, because I'm stepping up each time, and I'm trying to. It's some people see when you go awesome, you're bragging or not. No, it's an inner awesome. It's just a knowing that I know I can find out what I'm capable of, and that's the inner awesome that I'm trying to connect with kids. It's when you just try and find out what you're capable of. Just go on that path, because that's where you're going to be fulfilled. And a dead end is great, because it means you're one step closer to your goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a lesson. You know, you were talking about lessons, and life is one of two things. It's a lesson or a blessing.
Absolutely.
Okay, when you look at it that way, it's a lesson. But you've got to understand that the lesson is the blessing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the biggest
And when you get
scheme of
that,
things, yes. Mm-hmm.
when you get that, that's it.
It might be
So just
painful at that moment, but in the long term, you're going to tremendously benefit from it. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I'm developing a video game concept based on the book itself, and part of the process is to teach resilience. So I'm actually going to make the video game quite hard, quite challenging, and some kids are going to give up, and that's okay. But it's there if you want to come back and try again. So the message I've got to try is to inspire kids to keep coming back, keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. You'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Go to level 1, keep trying, keep trying. You'll get to level 2, just keep trying. And so I'm developing it in a way, and I was having this conversation with this woman, and she said, "Oh, you're making it too hard for kids." And I said, no, we're actually making life too easy for kids. They're not growing.
Yes.
They're not growing because they're not getting,
they're too soft.
because they're too soft. So I'm actually trying to teach resilience about get back up. Don't, I mean, you've fallen over, you whatever. We are all born with a growth mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It's society that shuts us down. Our parents, our teachers, our whatever else, they shut us down. But we're born with the growth mindset, because you only got to look at a child learning to walk. They get up and they get up and they get up and they get up until they do it. And that's growth. So where does it stop? Why does it stop? It's got to come from outside. It's not within. So we've got to start looking at all those external forces that are impacting kids, and make life. We've got to make life harder. We've got to make life. I reckon bullies are great because they're teaching you something. They're painful. They hurt. But they are there to teach you something. So if we remove bullies from everything, what happens?
You're not prepared for life. You're not going to be able to sustain.
For life.
No.
Yeah, we're going to create a soft generation of kids. We've got them now. There's the last 2 generations of kids are soft. They can't cope. They fall over and give up at the very first hurdle. And that's only an external influence teaching them that. Is it the school? Is it their environment? Is it their family? Is it whatever?
Do you think that's done on purpose? Do you think that's on purpose to teach and educate?
It's done with the wrong intent. It's done with the wrong intent. people they don't want their child to hurt. They don't want them to feel bad. So we'll give you a medal for coming last. So,
Yeah, I
you know,
agree.
like, they don't want children to feel bad. They don't want them to feel pain. I actually want kids to feel hurt and feel pain. Not,
To learn.
you don't go out and whack kids, but I want them to experience hurt, experience failure, experience all these things, because that's where they're going to grow. And they'll end up growing up with the right mentors. They'll end up growing up to be really good adults, balanced.
Yeah.
And then they can teach their kids.
I totally agree with that. I see it
Yeah, I'm in
around me
a
all the time.
backwards mission. Yeah. There's too much softness going on.
I see it around me all the time. Yes, you're right. That's so true.
I mean, Richard
Let's-
Branson's mother, Richard Branson's mother dropped him off down the road a couple of kilometers from home when he was 4 years old and said, "Find your own way home."
Wow.
Now, she would get locked up today, but that's what she did. That's what she did to teach him. She deliberately challenged him as a parent, which is what parents need to do. I think parents take a passive role of just waiting for their kid to experience life. Whereas I love it when I see a parent deliberately putting their kids in situations where they're challenged, where it's hard, where they are going to fall over. And if the parent has done that deliberately, they're there to support them getting out of it. But they've got to let the kid fall over.
It's actually the greatest gift you can give your kid as a parent is to teach them to learn the right way and not be soft, because in the world is not fair. The world is not soft. If you're soft, you're going to get crushed. Especially once you get into international, business or whatever, especially when you're trying to do business, say, with people that come from more difficult background, like say the Chinese or whatever, you're going to get
the hard life
crushed over. You're gonna eat you for breakfast,
Yep, that's it.
So
well, that's business, isn't it? I mean, it's out there, but yeah, we cannot make it. It's wrong to make it easy. It's wrong. We have to do the right thing and make it hard.
No, I totally agree with you. That's something I'm also very passionate about. I see it around me. I see it with my cousins and all that, and I feel bad for them because that's not the way to be. Just like you mentioned, they get a medal for becoming second. Like I remember when I was in school, that's not long ago. When you were not first, you would not show up to school the next day because you were so pissed off. You were this sense of competitiveness of being, because for me, and I'm big in sport is probably one of the biggest school of life where you learn the biggest lessons, like teamwork, not giving up, respecting rules, building rapport, camaraderie, and all that. That's the thing that sports teach you. But if you take that away from sport, then sports become what? What is the role of sport in that place? It's it loses 80% of its purpose. So I see it around me.
No, I think we can do sport. We can do indoor sports. You don't have to do. It doesn't have to be crazy physical. It's about learning to work within a community. And there are strong people, there are weak people, there are tall people, there are short people. We've got to celebrate difference. We can't, this business of equality, we can go off on a bit of a tangent and topic on there, but for me, I just absolutely demand equal respect for everybody. But we have to celebrate difference. And it doesn't matter who you are, you're different, great. Celebrate it. But you're different. But what is the difference? Celebrate it. Don't feel someone's worse or better because they're different. They're just different. But they still deserve the same respect that you deserve.
Totally, yeah.
So this is my quiet little message that I want to change and bring to the world, is that everybody wants equality. Well, equality of respect is where we need to start. Everything else has to follow afterwards, but equality of respect. And then start celebrating your differences. If you've got business skills, you're good in that area. You know what I mean? It's got nothing to do with your male or female. If your skills are good, that's your difference. So, but being a male or being a female, you can bring difference to a process or a problem or whatever else. So celebrate it. Don't attack people because they're different. Celebrate them and use that strength.
Totally, yeah.
Equal respect.
Right. That's amazing. That's some great lessons here. Yeah. And one last question. If you were to, and again, I'm sure you've covered that, but I would like to hear it again. Let's say you have a time machine and you can go back and meet your 18-year-old self. What would be the one piece of advice you would give yourself when you were 18?
Wow. Ask that girl out.
No regret. Yes.
Because I didn't believe I was worthy.
Oh, wow.
Do
So
you know what I
it all
mean?
comes down to the same recurring theme of lack of belief.
Same
Yes,
thing. I
absolutely.
didn't believe I was worthy of the good-looking girl. Go and
And
ask
that
her out.
affects and that affects every aspect of your life. Absolutely. Yes.
Believe
Yes.
in yourself. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Ask her out. So
Wow.
there was
That's
many that
amazing.
I wanted to, but I never did. And it's like, my bad.
That's
So yeah,
wonderful. It's so powerful because it's one main recurring theme for your life so far, and that is belief in yourself. The first part of your life, which was summarized by this lack of belief in yourself, and you had to go through some very painful experiences to finally learn the lesson. But when you learned the lesson, it almost took your life, and that was like a second chance at life after this
yeah.
heart attack. And yeah, did you notice any difference in your behavior and mentality right after the heart attack?
I noticed difference in behavior with others.
Mm-hmm.
I was really struggling with mental health, suicidal depression, and I had a heart attack.
Yeah.
Now, I can tell you very clearly, when you have a heart attack, people surround you with love and they can't do enough for you. They want to do everything for you. When
Mhm.
you have mental health, everyone runs away.
Yeah.
So you are left alone. And I've experienced both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I know very clearly what it means to be supported and loved because of a heart attack. But I also know what it means to be abandoned and left alone, not for any other reason than people don't understand it. That's all. They're scared of it. They don't know how to deal with it. So if you're going to ask someone who's struggling with depression or anything, we've got a concept over here of an "Are you okay?" concept, which is a great question. But you can't go around asking people, "Are you okay?" if you're not ready for the answer. So, and that's what happens. And I know I reached out to people when I was suicidal and they ran away because they didn't know how to deal with it. So I was left alone. So if you're gonna, the one question anybody can do is very simple. It's just say, "How can I help you?" Nothing more, and just wait
Mm-hmm.
for the answer. Because they may not have an answer, but then they may. But then they'll be clear about it. It's just, how can I help you? Because
That's
that takes
powerful.
away all the fear and the elements of that sort of stuff. So please be considerate if you know someone who's going through a tough time and all that sort of stuff, just reach out and just say, how can I help you? You
That's so
don't need to tell
powerful.
them what to do. You don't need to do, that's the worst thing you can do. Just
Mm-hmm.
sit there and ask one question only. That's all.
How can I help you? Yes, that's for sure.
How can I help you?
Wow.
But do
Very
it with heart.
powerful.
Yep, yep. So it is powerful. But I went through it, and I know the difference between having someone love you and someone run away, just through lack of knowledge and fear. So it's a very, very
Wow.
interesting process. So
Well, that's really powerful. You mentioned a heart attack, and that reminds me, I had Steven Selikoff not long on my podcast. He also had a heart attack. He shared that
yeah,
on the show with me, and he said something that really, really, really blew my mind. He said, when I had my heart attack, and on the way back when I was recovering, I had this thought because there's a lot of people going through a heart attack, and imagine if you, God forbid, were having a heart attack, and then while you're recovering you're facing the prospect of going back to a job you hate, having to answer to emails from stupid customers or attend some useless meeting or doing some nonsensical phone calls for a boss you hate. I mean, the heart attack may not kill you, but the thought and the prospect of going to that might actually be the kiss of death. That might actually finish you off. But
yep,
he said that he was so blessed, and that's what when he realized that he was so blessed because what he was awaiting him after the heart attack. Just a few days after, he wants to fly with a group of his students to China to take them to visit suppliers. So, and he said that's what really allowed when I realized that, hey, I don't have to go back to a job I hate. I'm looking forward to going on this trip with my student because they are paying me to help them get their business off the ground. That's something I enjoy, I love. And when I had that,
Yeah.
that really, and well, he didn't say that, but I can imagine that actually was part of him, allow them to really recover as fast as he did. Because when you have something positive that you're excited to look forward to, then your human system, your body, your mind, your subconscious, and your our business partner, our life partner, which in that case is the universe or God, whatever you want to call it, he is going to really help us, expedite the process. Because hey, but versus if you have nothing to look forward to and a crappy job that you hate, that might be what's gonna finish you off. You know.
Yeah. Oh, for a lot of people, and I totally get it. And that was my journey. I couldn't go back. I didn't want to go back to a bad relationship.
Yeah.
So I had to go forward. I only had one option: go that way. So,
It's all
but it's
about
been the best.
following your heart, following what you really deep down want to do, and living life the way you want to live it. Because when you do, you're gonna ask yourself the right questions, and all the right piece of the puzzle will magically, naturally, fall into place in front of your path, with the help
Yeah.
of your. I love the way you coined it, your business partner, which is the universe. So that's
Yep.
a perfect partner. That's the best partner to have, the mentor, whatever.
Best
Yeah,
partner
that's.
to have. Absolutely.
Listen, man,
Best partner to have.
I love talking to you. We've been talking for almost 2 hours now. We can talk for hours and hours, but
Yeah.
we got to wrap this up. It's getting over an hour and a half at this time. But we can do a part two once you launch a product, because I would love to hear
I'd love to.
the journey of your product
Yeah.
and how it goes. So yeah, is there any parting tips you would like to give to anyone who's currently struggling with finding belief in themselves, of going after what they're really passionate about?
Yeah. Just look in the mirror. The answer's
Hmm.
there. Look in the mirror and just believe that person is capable. You've just got to find the way. The words you say to yourself are the most powerful thing.
Change your
So
story. Yeah.
every morning, look in the mirror. I am enough.
Mhm.
I'm worthy. I am awesome. Every day, it's an exercise. You have to do it.
Amen. Hmm. That's
That's it.
powerful. That's lovely. I love that. And I took some notes because you dropped some amazing golden nuggets. One of them is that dividing the people into three categories: number one, number two, number three, and just based on that, just have the conversation that are, for that level. Absolutely love it. I'm going to implement that myself. You also mentioned about if a person is not lifting you up, or the worst having in your life. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna definitely be myself when I will be editing this podcast. I'm gonna be listening again to this, taking a lot of notes. But man, this has been an absolute pleasure talking to you. You've been dropping a lot of amazing knowledge. You've been blessed with a lot of real life experiences. So and now to your endeavor of doing your launching your book, you're gonna. I love your mission, which is inspiring kids. Uh, the most beautiful thing about you is that you took the most. That was actually one of my questions I wanted to ask you, but as I keep talking to you, I realized that I don't need to ask that question because you already answered it. And that question was, what was the greatest fear that you had to overcome and that has now become a skill and superpower to you? So I didn't want to ask it because we've been covering that over and over and over, which is at first a lack of self-belief, and you turned that around. It took you it took you a heart attack, almost took you away, and then that was like a second renaissance, second birth for you to finally get it. Say, okay, now I get it. Enough with all the painful experiences. Now let me run with it and do what I was meant to do, what I'm brought here to do, which is inspiring the kids, giving this inspiration to kids that you wish you had to your father when you were growing up, but now you can feel that, help that with people. So you're on a mission. Your mission is powerful, is beautiful, and I have no doubt that this will be not only super powerful, super I told you your goal. You told me earlier that your goal is to raise $1 million for kids, and I have no doubt that this you will definitely reach that. But most importantly, it's not the monetary gains or help. It's going to be the impact. It's all about the impact. That's going to really
Absolutely.
be a game changer. So you're my friend. You're a blessing. You're an enlightened soul, and you're a true leader with a heart in the truest sense of the word. So I'm truly honored to be connecting with you and to have you on my podcast because you have a beautiful message. And if there's any way I can help you to promote your message, I'm here. You know how to reach me anytime you need it, especially when you're about to launch a product. So yeah, thank you. And oh, and one last thing I forgot to ask you. What if someone wants to get in touch with you? What's the best way to reach you?
Damon at iamawesome.tv.
Okay,
So we're just in the
okay.
middle. That's my email. We're
Damon,
just
Damon
yeah.
at I am awesome. I am awesome.
.tv.
TV. Okay, noted. All right, perfect, my friends. So we'll wrap it up. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor having you on the podcast. And I salute you as a true leader with a heart. God bless you. Have a beautiful weekend, and we'll keep in touch. Thank you very much, my friend.
Thanks, Damon. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks for the
you.
opportunity. Terrific. Take
My
care.
pleasure.
Thanks,
Take care.
everybody.
Bye bye.
Bye.